My name is Alara Vance, and at 28 years old, I found myself standing on the quaint cobblestone street of Magnolia Lane in Charleston, South Carolina, a place that held the bittersweet echoes of my childhood. The grand old house at number 17, with its sweeping verandas and sun-drenched gardens, was meant to be my sanctuary, my inheritance from my beloved grandmother, Evelyn Vance. Instead, it had become a fortress of betrayal, stolen by my aunt, Meredith Vance, who had always viewed family ties as mere transactions. As I watched the expensive real estate agent place a sold sign with a discreet golden gleam on the manicured lawn, my heart didn't break. It solidified. They thought they had won, thought they had cleanly excised me from my legacy. But they had no idea the intricate trap I had been meticulously weaving. A trap that would not only reclaim what was mine, but expose a web of deceit far grander and more ruinous than they could ever imagine. This wasn't just about a house, it was about justice, about honor, about every whispered promise and every shattered dream. Let me take you back, before the sold sign and the bitter taste of betrayal, to the life that was, and the legacy that shaped me. My grandmother, Evelyn Vance, was the true matriarch of our family, a woman whose spirit was as vibrant and timeless as the heirloom roses she cultivated in her famous Charleston garden. She was a renowned textile artist, her hands perpetually busy creating intricate tapestries that hung in galleries across the South. More than her art, she wove stories into the fabric of our lives, teaching me about resilience, about integrity, about the quiet power of beauty and tradition. Growing up, summers at her Charleston home were my refuge, a stark contrast to the sterile, ambition-driven environment of my parents' suburban Atlanta life. My mother, Evelyn's youngest daughter, had always been consumed by her corporate career, pushing for promotions and executive titles, while my father, a quiet academic specializing in ancient languages, often seemed lost in his own world of dusty tomes and forgotten scripts. Their lives were a constant, polite hum of ambition and intellectual pursuit, leaving little room for the kind of emotional connection I craved. Grandmother Evelyn was my true confidant, my guiding star. She taught me to see the world not just through numbers and logic, but through the rich tapestry of human experience, the subtle nuances of history and emotion. She taught me about the significance of place, of roots, of the stories embedded in the very walls of a home. Stories that transcended generations. She showed me how to cultivate patience, how to find beauty in imperfection, and how to fight fiercely, yet gracefully, for what you believe in. When she passed away 2 years ago, after a long, graceful battle with a debilitating illness that slowly robbed her of her ability to create, a piece of my heart went with her. Her will was clear, unambiguous, and, to my Aunt Meredith, infuriating. The Charleston house, the cherished family heirloom that had been in our family for over a century, was bequeathed entirely to me, Alara, her only grandchild, with the explicit proviso that it serve as a place of creative sanctuary, a continuation of her artistic legacy, and a hub for the local arts community. The rest of her significant estate, her valuable art collection, extensive financial assets, and intellectual property from her designs, was divided equally between my mother and my aunt. Meredith Vance, my mother's older sister, had always been a sharp-edged contrast to Grandmother Evelyn's gentle nature and my mother's more reserved ambition. She was a high-powered corporate lawyer, specializing in complex property disputes and intricate corporate mergers, known for her aggressive tactics, her cutthroat negotiation skills, and her unwavering, almost pathological, focus on financial gain. She rarely visited Grandmother Evelyn in her later years, seeing her as a sentimental, aging figure, her art as a quaint, unprofitable hobby, and the Charleston house as nothing more than an undervalued asset ripe for liquidation. From the moment the will was read, in a hushed, sterile conference room filled with the scent of old paper and nervous anticipation, Meredith's true colors, a shocking shade of emerald greed, began to show. Her eyes, usually shrewd and calculating, glinted with unconcealed avarice. She believed the house, with its prime location in a rapidly gentrifying historic district and its inherent historical significance, should have been hers, or at the very least, immediately sold to maximize profit for the family. Her arguments were always framed in terms of financial prudence, modernizing the family assets, and avoiding unnecessary liabilities, thinly veiled excuses for her insatiable desire to exploit every last cent from the legacy grandmother Evelyn had painstakingly built. She saw the house not as a home filled with generations of memories and a vibrant artistic spirit, but as a multi-million-dollar opportunity she was being unjustly denied. I was 26 then, an architectural designer specializing in historical preservation, working for a prestigious firm in New York City, where I spent my days meticulously researching forgotten blueprints and breathing new life into old structures. The Charleston house was meant to be my passion project, a living embodiment of my professional and personal devotion, a tangible connection to my grandmother's spirit. I planned to carefully restore it, infuse it with new life while honoring its deep history, and eventually open a small, curated gallery on the ground floor to showcase emerging Southern artists, fulfilling Grandmother Evelyn's vision for a vibrant community hub. I poured my meager savings, painstakingly accumulated from years of meticulous work, into initial structural repairs and securing specialized permits for historical renovation. I spent every available weekend and vacation traveling from the frenetic pace of New York to the quiet charm of Charleston, overseeing the delicate work, meticulously choosing contractors who understood the nuances of historical restoration. I felt my grandmother's presence in every creaking floorboard, every sunbeam that danced through the antique glass, a comforting warmth against the growing chill of my aunt's thinly veiled animosity. Then came the first tremor of betrayal, subtle at first, then growing in intensity like a steadily building earthquake. Meredith began by questioning every expense, every design choice, every piece of paperwork, scrutinizing every line item with a microscopic intensity. Her calls were relentless, her emails accusatory, her tone dripping with veiled threats and condescending remarks about my impractical artistic inclinations. She argued, endlessly, that the house was a financial drain, a crumbling relic, and that my romantic hobby was squandering a valuable asset that could be generating substantial income. I tried to explain Grandmother Evelyn's wishes, her profound legacy, and my own meticulously planned vision for the property, but reason was a foreign language to her, a barrier she simply chose to ignore. She saw only the potential for cold, hard profit, a grand sum she believed was rightfully hers to exploit. The escalation was chillingly swift, a calculated maneuver orchestrated with the precision of a seasoned legal shark. One crisp autumn morning, a mere 6 months after Grandmother Evelyn's passing, I arrived at the Charleston house, keys in hand, only to find the locks changed. A brusque letter delivered by a menacing-looking process server with a face as grim as a gargoyle informed me that Meredith, citing an obscure clause in probate law about undue financial burden and failure to adequately manage the inherited property due to my ongoing renovations, had initiated aggressive legal proceedings to have the will overturned, or, failing that, to force an immediate sale of the property. She brazenly claimed I was financially irresponsible, utterly incapable of managing such a valuable asset, and that my preservation efforts were actively destroying its market value by turning it into a niche art project rather than a lucrative commercial property. It was a brazen, calculated attack, designed not just to seize control of the house, but to utterly dispossess me of my inheritance and Grandmother Evelyn's legacy. My legal battle began, a nightmarish descent into the labyrinthine, often opaque, world of probate law and bitter family feuds. Meredith, with her vast network of legal connections, her seemingly limitless financial resources, and her ruthless, unyielding determination, seemed unstoppable. She had built a formidable case, fabricating evidence, twisting facts, and presenting a distorted narrative of me as an impulsive, naive girl squandering a valuable family fortune through impractical, sentimental endeavors. My own lawyer, a kind but overwhelmed local Charleston attorney specializing in general practice, warned me that Meredith's tactics were formidable, her influence far-reaching within the state's legal establishment. The legal fees mounted, draining my savings at an alarming rate, threatening to bankrupt me entirely. Every cent I had earned, every dream I had harbored, felt like it was slipping through my fingers, dissolving into a black hole of legal jargon and endless paperwork. Yet I refused to back down. This wasn't just about the house. It was about grandmother Evelyn's memory, about the principle of justice, about my fundamental right to my own inheritance, about the very integrity of the legacy she had tried to protect. During this grueling period, my emotional and financial resources dwindled to dangerously low levels. The constant stress, the sleepless nights, the gnawing anxiety became a physical weight on my shoulders. My parents, caught squarely between their two warring daughters, offered only tepid, passive support, urging me to compromise, to be reasonable, and to avoid further conflict for the sake of family harmony. Their passive stance, their refusal to confront Meredith's blatant injustice, felt like another form of betrayal, leaving me feeling utterly isolated and profoundly vulnerable. My existing friendships strained under the weight of my constant stress and the incessant demands of the legal battle. I found solace only in my work, immersing myself in complex architectural designs, finding a strange, almost meditative comfort in the precision and order of blueprints, in the tangible act of creation, even when my own life felt utterly chaotic. One late night, after a particularly bruising court session where Meredith's lawyer had presented a damning yet fabricated financial report, I felt utterly defeated and profoundly disheartened. Slumped over my laptop, trying to find a distraction, I was browse old architectural history forums, delving into obscure discussions about ancient building techniques. An obscure post caught my eye, a complex discussion about a rare legal precedent involving historical properties, intricate trusts, and something called asset protection via a covert legacy trust. The poster, a brilliant, almost mythical figure in the cybersecurity and financial law world, known only by the enigmatic handle Oracle, had detailed how a specific, highly specialized type of trust could shield assets from legal challenges, even within complex family disputes, if set up with certain, often overlooked, provisions. The details were incredibly complex, arcane, almost impenetrable to a layperson, but something about the sheer ingenuity of it, the quiet certainty behind the writing, resonated with a profound, almost electric certainty within me. It felt like a hidden path, a secret weapon. I spent weeks meticulously researching Oracle. His real name was Gabriel Sterling, and he was not just a legal and cybersecurity genius, but a notorious recluse, a self-made billionaire known for his unwavering moral compass and his ruthless, almost surgical, effectiveness in dismantling large-scale corporate fraud and exposing white-collar criminals. He specialized in untangling impossibly complex financial webs, often taking on high-stakes pro bono cases for victims of systemic injustice who had nowhere else to turn. Getting through to him, or even his formidable firm, Aegis Solutions, was rumored to be nearly impossible. His firm had a legendary reputation for impenetrability, its roster of clients a who's who of those who had faced insurmountable odds and emerged victorious. But I was desperate, and more importantly, I was persistent. I composed a series of increasingly detailed, unsolicited emails, each one a meticulously crafted analysis of Meredith's legal strategy, highlighting her weaknesses, her logical inconsistencies, and the ethical breaches she was making. I proposed a counter-strategy based on my understanding of the covert legacy trust and my grandmother's unique foresight. I didn't truly expect a reply, not from someone of his caliber. 2 weeks later, as I was staring blankly at my computer screen, nursing a lukewarm cup of coffee, an encrypted email landed in my inbox. The subject line was simply, Vance property case. My heart leaped into my throat. The sender, GS. The message, curt and direct. Your analysis is astute. Meet me in 2 days, Charleston Public Library, 3 p.m. Don't be late, GS. Gabriel Sterling was not what I expected. He was 34, with kind, discerning eyes that seemed to see right through me, framed by wire-rimmed glasses, a calm, almost serene demeanor, and a quiet intensity that belied his formidable reputation. He wasn't overtly charismatic, but possessed a profound, understated power that commanded attention without demanding it. He listened to my entire story without interruption, his gaze unwavering, his expression utterly unreadable, absorbing every detail, every nuanced emotion. When I finished, my voice hoarse, my nerves frayed, he leaned back in his chair, a faint, almost imperceptible smile touching his lips. It wasn't a smile of amusement, but of recognition. Your grandmother, Evelyn Vance, he said, his voice surprisingly gentle, yet firm with conviction, was a client of mine, years ago. She had a foresight that few possess. She anticipated this, Alara. Every single move your aunt would make. My heart pounded. A frantic drumbeat against my ribs. Anticipated what? How? Meredith Vance, he continued, his voice now crisp, professional, yet still holding that underlying note of compassion, has a long documented history of questionable financial dealings. My firm has been quietly investigating her for years. On behalf of several other high-profile clients, she defrauded in various real estate and corporate schemes. Your grandmother, knowing Meredith's true nature, specifically designed the trust for the Charleston house with a series of intricate, almost invisible contingencies. It's not just a will, Ilara. It's a legal masterpiece, a trap, if you will, designed to activate if anyone, particularly Meredith, attempted to unjustly seize the property or force its sale outside the trust's original intent. He explained that Evelyn had set up a specialized legacy preservation trust, a rare and incredibly sophisticated legal instrument that very few attorneys even knew existed, let alone how to execute. If the property was ever contested by a specific list of individuals, Meredith notably was explicitly named, or if attempts were made to sell it outside the trust's original intent, it triggered an automatic, silent forensic audit of the contesting party's finances, initiated directly by Aegis Solutions, with a specific focus on identifying illicit gains, corporate malfeasance, and tax evasion. The proceeds from any identified fraud would then be legally funneled to supplement the trust, effectively punishing the transgressor and strengthening the original beneficiary. Me. Meredith, in her overwhelming short-sighted greed, had walked right into it, blindly. She's been involved in several large-scale real estate frauds over the last decade, Gabriel revealed, pulling up complex diagrams on a secure tablet, involving intricate networks of shell corporations, offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, sophisticated money laundering operations, and systematic manipulation of property valuations. The forced sale of your grandmother's house, her most recent and most brazen move, was simply the final blatant step that activated the trap fully. We have everything we need to expose her, not just for this house, but for years of deeply entrenched criminal activity. Her entire career, built on a foundation of deceit, is about to unravel. A cold, exhilarating calm settled over me. This wasn't just about reclaiming my home, it was about justice on a scale I hadn't imagined, a profound retribution. Gabriel, seeing the resolve in my eyes, agreed to take my case, not just to defend my inheritance, but to systematically dismantle Meredith's entire corrupt empire. His quiet determination matched my own burning desire for truth. The ensuing legal battle was unlike anything I could have imagined. Gabriel, with his razor-sharp intellect, his profound understanding of complex financial systems, and a formidable team of forensic accountants, cybersecurity experts, and legal strategists from Aegis Solutions, transformed my defense into an overwhelming offensive. He didn't just counter Meredith's spurious claims, he unleashed a torrent of irrefutable evidence, meticulously compiled over years, exposing her fraudulent dealings, her web of shell companies, her intricate bribery schemes, and her blatant tax evasion. The legal motions were brutal, swift, and devastatingly precise, each one a hammer blow to her carefully constructed facade. Meredith, initially arrogant and dismissive, believing she was untouchable, watched in horror as her carefully constructed world imploded before her very eyes. The forced sale of my grandmother's house was not only frozen but then irrevocably overturned, declared null and void. Her personal assets were seized, her numerous business accounts frozen, and her high-profile partnerships with powerful real estate developers and investors dissolved overnight. The multi-million-dollar deals she had boasted about, the very source of her perceived power and social standing, were systematically revealed to be fraudulent, leaving her facing not just professional disbarment, but a staggering litany of federal criminal charges. The news exploded across every major media outlet. A sensational story of a revered corporate lawyer brought down by her own insatiable greed and a grandmother's long-game, brilliant revenge. Legal titan's empire crumbles. Granddaughter's inheritance reveals deep fraud, leads to criminal charges. The headlines screamed, forever cementing her disgrace. In the midst of this professional and legal whirlwind, an unexpected connection blossomed between Gabriel and me. Our shared values, our dedication to truth, and the intense, high-stakes experience of fighting a common, formidable enemy forged a bond that ran deeper than anything I had ever known. He respected my intellect, my resilience, my unwavering moral compass, seeing me not as a victim, but as a formidable partner. I admired his quiet strength, his brilliant, complex mind, and his unwavering, almost spiritual commitment to justice. He was not flashy, not ostentatious, but possessed a profound integrity that resonated with my very soul. We spent countless hours together, initially discussing legal strategies, but soon our conversations drifted to art, philosophy, the intricate dance of human nature, and our shared dreams for a better world. He saw me, truly saw me, for who I was, not a heartbroken girl, but a survivor, a fighter, a woman of profound depth and unshakable conviction. He became my quiet confidant, my unwavering support, my calm in the storm. 2 years later, the dust had settled. Meredith was serving a lengthy prison sentence in a federal penitentiary, her reputation irrevocably ruined, her vast assets entirely liquidated to compensate her numerous victims. The Charleston house was fully, irrevocably mine, secured by the now fortified Legacy Preservation Trust, its value significantly enhanced by Gabriel's legal genius and the ethical reallocation of Meredith's ill-gotten gains directed back into the trust for its ongoing maintenance and my grandmother's vision. It was a victory, but a quiet one, bittersweet in its finality. The pain of the past was still there, a faint echo, but it no longer defined me. Gabriel and I had fallen deeply in love. Our relationship wasn't built on grand gestures or fleeting romance, but on shared purpose, unwavering trust, and a profound respect for each other's strength and vulnerability. He became my partner not just in business but in life in every sense of the word. We married quietly, simply, intimately, in the sun-drenched garden of the Charleston house, under the shade of Grandmother Evelyn's beloved, fragrant magnolia tree, with only a handful of close friends and my now apologetic parents in attendance. It was a celebration of new beginnings, of hard-won peace, and of a love that had blossomed from the ashes of betrayal, stronger and more beautiful for having weathered the storm. I transformed the Charleston house into the Evelyn Gallery and Atelier, a thriving, vibrant space dedicated to preserving Southern artistic heritage and fostering emerging talent, just as Grandmother Evelyn had envisioned. The ground floor now housed a dynamic, curated gallery, showcasing local artists and hosting community workshops, while the upper floors served as an atelier for resident artists, a sanctuary for creativity and quiet contemplation. My architectural preservation firm also expanded, taking on more meaningful, community-focused projects, focusing on restoring historic landmarks and infusing them with sustainable, forward-thinking design. I leveraged my unique experience to consult on cases involving contested family estates and intricate inheritance disputes, helping other individuals fight for their rightful legacies, not just with legal expertise, but with profound empathy and a deep understanding of the emotional toll such battles take. I became a voice for ethical stewardship of family legacies, a passionate advocate for justice. One crisp autumn afternoon, a few months after our quiet wedding and the resounding success of the gallery's grand opening, I received an unexpected invitation. It was from the Charleston Art Gala, one of the city's most prestigious and exclusive annual events, known for its high-profile attendees and substantial charitable contributions. What caught my eye, however, was the name of one of the featured patrons and new board members, Vance & Associates Real Estate, and listed as a special advisor was the name, Meredith Vance. Meredith, incredibly, had been released on early parole for good behavior and was attempting to rebuild her life, trying to subtly, cautiously, re-enter the very elite social and business circles she had so spectacularly fallen from. The gala, with its veneer of philanthropy and exclusivity, was clearly intended as her grand re-debut, her calculated attempt at public rehabilitation. Gabriel and I decided to attend. Not out of petty malice or a desire for confrontation, but out of a quiet confidence, a serene certainty in our own hard-won peace and the unshakable foundation of our new life. I chose a simple, elegant gown, nothing ostentatious, just a reflection of the quiet strength and grace I had found. Gabriel, as always, was impeccably dressed, his presence a comforting, powerful anchor, his calm demeanor radiating an aura of understated authority. The gala was a glittering spectacle, a who's who of Charleston's social and financial elite. As we walked through the grand ballroom, the air alive with polite chatter and the clinking of crystal, I could feel the subtle shifts in conversation, the discreet glances, the whispers that followed us. My story, once a scandal, was now a legend, a testament to resilience, integrity, and unexpected triumph. My presence, and more importantly, Gabriel's, was a quiet statement, a powerful ripple in the carefully curated social fabric. Then, across the crowded room, amidst a cluster of fawning admirers and curious onlookers, I saw her, Meredith. She was holding court by a large, ornate floral arrangement, surrounded by a small, rather uncomfortable-looking group of new associates and minor socialites, who were clearly trying to curry favor. She looked older, lines of bitterness etched around her mouth, her face more tightly drawn, her eyes still holding that predatory glint, but also a hint of raw desperation, a hunger for acceptance. She was wearing a rather gaudy diamond necklace that seemed almost too large, too ostentatious, a stark contrast to the quiet elegance and understated wealth of the truly powerful people in the room. She was talking animatedly, her voice a little too loud, no doubt spinning a carefully curated narrative of her temporary setback and imminent triumphant comeback, trying to re-establish her authority. Her eyes, scanning the room for new targets, for fresh validation, swept over the dazzling crowd, filled with her usual self-importance, until they landed on me. Her smile, which had been plastered on her face with almost painful artificiality, faltered. Her eyes, which had been so sharp, so calculating, suddenly widened in profound disbelief. She clearly hadn't expected me to be there. Not in this capacity. Not radiating this quiet confidence, this serene power. Her gaze then drifted to Gabriel, standing quietly, powerfully beside me, his hand resting gently on my lower back. A silent, intimate gesture of possession and profound connection. Her face, which moments before had been flushed with the thrill of her supposed comeback, drained of all color. Her lips parted, but no sound came out, only a faint, choked gasp. She looked utterly petrified, as if she had just seen a ghost of her past failures, perhaps, or the terrifying specter of her true unmasked self. Her carefully constructed facade, built brick by painful brick over years of deceit, was suddenly cracking, revealing the hollow, terrified woman beneath. "Elara," she finally croaked, her voice barely a whisper. Thin and reedy, utterly devoid of its usual power and sharp edge. What are you doing here? And who is he?" Her eyes darted from me to Gabriel, then back again, a frantic, desperate dance of confusion and dawning terror. Her carefully rehearsed comeback speech was utterly forgotten. Gabriel stepped forward slightly, his presence commanding, his voice calm, yet carrying an undeniable, quiet authority that cut through the polite chatter of the room like a precisely aimed laser beam. "Meredith," he acknowledged with a polite, almost detached nod. "A lovely evening, isn't it? Such a wonderful celebration of art." His words were gentle, but the underlying implication, the undeniable weight of his presence, was a crushing blow. Her gaze locked onto him, a sudden, horrifying, panicked realization dawning in her eyes. She knew him. Not just as a figure in the news, a name on a legal document, but as the man who had systematically dismantled her life, her career, her very freedom. "Gabriel Sterling?" she stammered, her voice cracking, the blood completely draining from her face, leaving it ashen, gaunt, and utterly exposed. But you're here? With her? Why?" The questions tumbled out, desperate and unhinged. Her composure utterly shattered. I stepped closer, my hand gently, almost imperceptibly, touching Gabriel's arm. A silent declaration of our unity. My voice was clear and steady, resonant with the strength of 7 hard-won years, imbued with a quiet power that seemed to echo in the sudden, stunned silence of the grand ballroom. "Yes, Meredith. Gabriel Sterling is my husband. And he's also the man who ensured Grandmother Evelyn's trust was upheld. The man who meticulously uncovered every single detail of your business dealings." My words were a polite, public declaration of her utter ruin. A final, unarguable statement of truth. The color completely fled Meredith's face. Her eyes glazed over, staring blankly ahead. She swayed, a sudden alarming lurch, her knees buckling. Her new associates, visibly uncomfortable and suddenly very aware of the open stares directed at them, awkwardly tried to attend to her, their faces a mixture of profound embarrassment and dawning, horrified understanding. The whispers in the room became a collective murmur, then a shocked, palpable silence as the full, devastating weight of the situation landed. Meredith, the self-proclaimed comeback queen, the architect of her own elaborate deception, had just been publicly unmasked, not by a news headline or a legal filing, but by the quiet, undeniable presence of the woman she had tried to destroy. and the formidable man who had systematically dismantled her entire empire. She crumpled, dramatically collapsing onto a nearby antique chaise lounge, gasping for air, her gaudy necklace clinking loudly against the ornate fabric, a pathetic sound in the now hushed room. I looked at Meredith, not with triumph, but with a profound sense of quiet peace. Her dramatic collapse wasn't a moment of petty victory for me, but a final, tragic confirmation of her own self-destruction, a visible manifestation of the internal rot that had consumed her. There was no joy in her suffering, only a deep, abiding sense of closure. We left the gala shortly after, the whispers following us, not of scandal, but of admiration, of respect, of a story that had come full circle. The story, of course, was on every news channel and social media feed by morning, splashed across front pages and trending topics. Disgraced lawyer collapses at gala as granddaughter reveals marriage to tech billionaire who exposed her fraud. It was a sensational, cathartic ending to a long, painful chapter. A powerful narrative of justice served. My father, who had always been so hesitant, so passive, so trapped in his own intellectual world, finally reached out. He saw the headlines, heard the whispers, and, more importantly, he saw the quiet strength and profound joy that radiated from me, a peace he hadn't seen in years. He came to Charleston, seeking not just reconciliation, but genuine understanding. I shared the full, painful truth, not just of Meredith's actions, but of the systemic issues that had allowed her to flourish unchecked, the subtle ways her greed had corroded our family. He listened, truly listened, with an openness I had never seen before. For the first time, I felt a genuine connection, a fragile hope for a real family bond. He apologized, deeply and sincerely, for his passivity, for not protecting me, for not seeing the depth of Meredith's deceit sooner. Our relationship began a slow, careful process of healing, built on a new foundation of honesty, empathy, and mutual respect. The Evelyn Gallery and Atelier flourished beyond my wildest dreams, becoming a vibrant beacon of art and integrity in Charleston, a true continuation of Grandmother Evelyn's legacy. My architectural preservation firm continued its meaningful work, taking on more impactful projects, focusing on restoring historic landmarks and infusing them with sustainable, forward-thinking design. I found profound satisfaction in leveraging my unique experience to consult on cases involving contested family estates and intricate inheritance disputes, helping other individuals fight for their rightful legacies, not just with legal expertise, but with empathy and a deep understanding of the emotional toll such battles take. I became a sought-after speaker, a passionate advocate for ethical stewardship of family legacies, a voice for justice in a world that often felt unjust. Gabriel and I shared a deep, abiding love, a partnership that continued to grow stronger with each passing year. Our marriage was no longer overshadowed by any lingering pain or the ghosts of past betrayals. It was stronger than ever, forged in the fires of adversity and built on a foundation of absolute trust, mutual respect, and shared purpose. He was my anchor, my confidant, my greatest supporter, and my dearest friend. Our life together was filled with purpose, with shared dreams of building a better world, and with the quiet joy of our shared passions. His immense success allowed us to pursue ambitious philanthropic endeavors that truly aligned with our values, investing in arts education, in historical preservation projects, and in ethical legal reform causes far removed from the superficial, self-serving charity Meredith once pretended to embody. My story isn't just about reclaiming an inherited house or exposing a multi-million-dollar fraud. It's about the profound act of self-reclamation, about refusing to be defined by someone else's greed or malice. It's about understanding that true strength isn't about accumulating vast wealth or wielding overt power, but about upholding integrity, embracing authenticity, and finding the unwavering courage to expose the truth, even when it means facing uncomfortable realities and dismantling deeply entrenched falsehoods. It's about rebuilding from the ashes of betrayal, not with bitterness or revenge, but with wisdom, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to your own worth. It's about realizing that sometimes the greatest battles aren't fought with fists or harsh words, but with quiet determination, strategic intellect, and the unwavering light of your own truth. For every person who has felt dismissed, undervalued, or had their legacy threatened, remember this: your worth is inherent, your spirit resilient, and your truth, when embraced with courage, is your most powerful weapon. You are not defined by what others try to take from you, but by what you choose to build with what remains. And when you stand in that truth, unapologetically and with unwavering conviction, you not only reclaim your own life, but you illuminate the path for others, proving that integrity, love, and unwavering self-worth are the most precious legacies you can ever build.